The leadership style will also accentuate your inherent behavior. So a lot of leaders I coach and I work with also get surprised by that. If you have an inherent behavior or traits, they become quite prominent. They come in public display. And I think the more you're aware of those behaviors, the better you can do to manage them when they are in full display. So, for example, if you are someone who gets annoyed when a plan does not fall in place, then that will become public. And it'll also affect people who look up to you. And if you remember from our yesterday's conversation about know your role, uh, that might set a kind of a behavior because people will kind of see that's a way to approach. That's a way to actually that's a way to use you as a role model. So think about those very prominently. So I'm generally a very anxious person. I plan a lot, but I also know there are plans that will not go right. And I need to keep my anxiety in bay, but I know where I'm super anxious, I may not be able to make the right choice in a particular leadership moment or the words I use, the way I communicate. Hence, I want to, because I'm mindful about it, I can actually label those. I can say, hey, at that point, this point in time, I'm feeling a little bit anxious. And sometimes I do that just to also um, act and be vulnerable in a group of people so they know it's a good permission for them to be vulnerable in a given situation. So they know that I'm coming from a point that I'm usually an anxious person. So what can I do to make sure my anxiety is in bay, but also not affect other people? And you can do this by obviously self-improvement and self-care, but also recognizing moments where you may be super anxious about certain things and figuring out those things that you could do in your control. So it doesn't become almost something that impacts other people. And I've seen obviously worst examples of it, also good examples. When things are not falling in plan, when something that I'm responsible and accountable for is not going as exactly as needed, I may get impatient and I will maybe reach out to other people constantly. I tend to get more, maybe I will start becoming more of a micromanager at that moment. And what I do sometimes is, I think we talked about know your role exercise that we did. I try to also tell people that these are the moments where you might see me be behaving differently. Feel free to call it out if I can correct those, and also make sure that you bring it to my attention if it's affecting you. And that way, it's not an excuse for me to act in the way I act, but giving them environment that hey, I'm not infallible. I can also fail. I can also have those moments as a leader where I'm not at my best, and making it more approachable for people to come back to me, provide feedback, and share those are also quite useful if you do so.